So I want to welcome everybody to the Monday, January 23rd, 2023 public meeting of the Norton Conservation Commission. Dan, would you like to read our preamble?
Sure. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Norton Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found at the end of this agenda. Members of the public attending this public hearing/meeting virtually will be allowed to do so, will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment by raising their hand virtually or pressing *9 if participating by phone. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the Norton Cable website, www.nortonmediacenter.org, an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting.
Thanks, Dan. So it looks like members present tonight: Dan Pearson, Ron O'Reilly, Mark Fernandez, myself, we have Megan Harrop, and John Thomas. Looks like I don't think Tom has joined us, and I know Julian won't be joining us. So it looks like we have no new public hearings. So the first continued public hearing is for DEP file 250-1121, notice of intent for 70 and 78 East Main Street for the Town Hall project. And it looks like Scott is on the line.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. How's everybody doing tonight?
Good evening.
Yes, I'm here for the town as the applicant. I guess we can get into it. If you recall, the last hearing was continued as we were going through the peer review comments and responding in kind. Today, we received some peer review responses to those comments. I've had a chance to look at them and look over them. I think we do have a majority of them I think are easily responded to. There perhaps is maybe one clarification that we need to do with the applicant, with the town's reviewing engineer concerning the rain gardens. But I wanted to put it forth to the board on how they wish to proceed at this moment, seeing we've received the second comment letter today, and that we're now in front of you. And I know that there are still a few outstanding things that the reviewer wished to have us clarify.
So it sounds like your preference might be to just keep it open until those issues are resolved.
Well, I think they can be overcome and resolved. I leave that decision up to how the board would wish to proceed, to feel that their town peer review consultant has been satisfied, and leave it open, or does the board normally look at this and say, at this point in time, instead of keeping the public hearing open, could something like this be done administratively prior to the order of conditions being issued?
So I don't think we can close this evening because of the 21-day timeline, because it's 21 days exactly, and we have to make sure that it's at least 21 days before. So, I would say my recommendation would be for the applicant to request a continuance until the February 13th meeting. And then in the interim, I will work with the peer reviewer and prepare a potential order of conditions for the commission to review as part of that.
Okay.
If that works for you.
Yeah, that definitely works, John. I appreciate you working with the peer review consultant to get that order of conditions. So perhaps in the hands of the commission prior to the 13th, that would be acceptable. I think we can work through probably any of the questions this week and get the final plan documents to be attached to the order associative to those comments being resolved.
Okay, so you just mentioned it was the rain garden, comments relative to the rain garden design.
Yeah, well, there was maybe I think there was maybe 8 general comments that they either wanted the commission yourselves to include them into special conditions, and then there were a few comments that I think relate to perhaps revisions to the plans, final minor review revisions in terms of pre-treatment before the rain gardens. So I think we're going to be adding in a little bit of a pre-treatment before the rain garden discharge from the pavement. And then there's, some general cleanup that they requested that we do. But there were some there, John, I think that to note that they wanted them related to making sure that in the O&M and some of the other contractor related SWIP filings be submitted to you when they're completed at time of construction. So I know that there are some that you make sure that they get included in the order.
So any commission members have any questions or comments? Anybody from the public? I don't see anybody. So it sounds like your best course is to just continue, request a continuance then?
Yes, we'll request a continuance till the next meeting, as John indicated, and we'll work together to make sure that it's all ready to go for you at the next meeting.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to continue. I'm sorry, I don't have I clipped off the number of the file, but until the 1121 to the 13th of February.
Okay, Dan made a motion, second?
Second.
Seconded by Ron. Roll call vote, Dan and Ron.
Aye.
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye. Okay. All right.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Okay,
you.
great evening. Bye.
You too. Stay dry.
So the next public hearing is for file 250-1113, notice of intent for 0 East Hodges Street. It looks like they requested a continuance until February 13th.
So moved.
Motion by Dan, second.
Second.
Seconded by Ron. Roll call vote, Dan and Ron.
Aye.
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye. Oh, it's so easy with just 4 people, man.
Yeah.
Okay. The next continuance is for file 250-1108, notice of intent for 0 Hill Street. And
So moved. Oh, sorry.
no, that one's not continued, Dan. You're getting
Oh, it's
continued.
not?
No.
Hill Street. No, it's, oh, I'm sorry. I was reading I'm just learning to read, actually.
Okay, all right. We'll cut you some slack.
Okay, thank you.
So it looks like, Michael?
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair and members of the commission. My name is Michael Dryden, for the record, Senior Project Manager with Allen Engineering. And I'm hoping that per the discussion we had at the last meeting that we're able to bring this to a conclusion this evening. So just a brief backtrack. I do want to thank Mr. Chesia. I'm not sure if he's on. I don't see him. But he did turn around our last plan revisions and comment responses in a timely fashion, and we certainly appreciate that. So after the back and forth that we've had, some 4 revisions and comment responses to the plans, as you'll recall, we did have some disagreements with Mr. Chesia. And we're very hopeful that we could work through those. It boils down to 5 conditions essentially that Mr. Chesia has recommended if the commission should so choose to accept conditions in this form. We are in complete agreement and have no objection to essentially 4 of the 5 conditions. So that brings me just to one of the conditions that was recommended, which again is related to the mounding analysis. And again, I don't see Mr. Chesia here this evening, but so please allow me just a moment to sort of describe our position, and hopefully maybe with some minor tweaking to the condition, we can put this to rest. So we are working on Mr. Chesia's 4th letter, and we've had some back and forth about the required recharge volume when you prepare a mounding analysis. And it's very, very clear to us that in the stormwater handbook, we are required to infiltrate it's in quotes, the required recharge volume, and there's very specific methods of calculating that. I don't doubt that Mr. Chesia has extensive experience and knowledge about mounding analyses, perhaps more than even we do. He has been pushing the fact that we should be infiltrating or modeling much more infiltration in our mounding analysis. And again, he has a lot of experience with this, but I keep falling back on the fact that the Mass DEP Stormwater Handbook that we must abide by has very specific requirements that are less than Mr. Chesia suggests. So I just want to once again respectfully suggest that what he is suggesting is far and above what we're required to do through the stormwater management policy. And just some quick numbers, the required recharge volume as dictated by the stormwater handbook in this case would be about 1,700 cubic feet of volume that we're required to model in our groundwater mounding analysis. Mr. Chesia is suggesting just under 20,000 cubic feet, or 12 times what is required under the stormwater management policy. He's basing that on his knowledge and perhaps some anecdotal information that he has, but again, in the end, we're bound by what the Mass DEP suggests that we need to use. So that's what we've done. So again, we're in agreement with all the conditions with the exception of condition number 3 relative to mounding calculations. We do feel like we've even gone above and beyond what is required in the stormwater management policy. We first put forth the required recharge volume, and then in trying to work with Mr. Chesia, we ended up running the entire 10-year storm through and demonstrating that that would work. So we were hoping we could reach some sort of concession, but now he just seems to not budge on the 100-year storm. So I'm not really sure where we go from here, again, other than to suggest to the commission that we've complied with the regulations.
So did he offer a reason as to why he thought it should be that specific volume?
He did. I think a lot of it is his, again, extensive knowledge of mounding analyses. He pointed to an email that he received back in 2015 from USGS, from an individual at USGS, that in part agreed with his approach. But he's just sort of in his mind thinking this through. Well, you have an infiltration system, and there's infiltration that occurs throughout the storm events. And I think DEP recognizes that, but if you were to size the infiltration BMPs as he's suggesting, we would either be raising our entire site up 2 feet or doubling the amount of infiltration we have. And I think that inherent in the DEP calculations, they understand that in a 100-year storm event, that is the 1% annual chance of that storm. You can't design to that. You need to design to something more realistic.
So what is the design standard that DEP sets forth? I don't know off the top of my head, for the recharge volume calculation.
So I can actually bring that right up on my screen if you like. Or John, I think I sent that to you. If you have that available, or it's easier for you to share.
Yeah, I got it from you later on this afternoon when I was just about leaving for the day. You have the ability to share your screen if you want to bring it up on screen.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's see if I can bring that up. Right here. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Great. This is page 28 of volume 3 of the Stormwater Management Handbook. And you'll see I've highlighted the mounting analysis and I underlined in red the required recharge volume, which is again what we have put forth. So to define the required recharge volume, let's back up a little bit. I can't find my book. I think it's on page 15. I don't have my bookmarks available in this version. Right here. So if you back up, this is how required recharge volume is defined and calculated. This is exactly what we've done. This is what we do in every community and in essentially every town that we work in. So without getting into the weeds of how this is done, we followed this expressly to the letter. And then when Mr. Chesia initially disagreed, we said, well, okay, we'll put some belts and suspenders on this and we'll go all the way up to the 10-year storm, which is a far greater volume than the numbers I just read to you. So we've already made concessions and tried to again, put belts and suspenders on here. But he seems to just be stuck on this.
So
And
DEP doesn't point to a specific storm? Okay.
no, they point to the required recharge volume. It's that simple. And this is exactly how you calculate it.
Okay.
I'm not showing you anything other than what's directly from the Mass DEP.
Okay. So, John Thomas, I understand Mr. Chesia is absolutely doing his due diligence based on his experience, which is pretty extensive. So I'm wondering if we could perhaps just turn this into a condition.
I mean, what being a condition?
We would articulate in the findings what the recharge volume that was provided based on the design, and then maybe just put a finding in there that the peer reviewer peer reviewer required was, just for the record.
Yeah, we can put it in as a finding.
Yeah.
I guess the question though is, when we're approving these projects, I guess, I will refer back to this too, that standard 3 as well.
Right. If I could, just the way his condition is written, we couldn't comply with it because essentially what he's saying in his suggested condition is that we go back and redo our calculation based on his peer review. We've already demonstrated that that's just not possible and it's above and beyond the requirement. So if it could be a finding and we could just if we could get rid of that condition number 3, again, we're fully in agreement with all others.
Right. I think it's just a matter of, as a professional, he's documenting his opinion. So that, and you know how it goes, right? In case this blows up and this system doesn't work, he can point to the town of Norton to say, on your behalf, I commented on that. Now, if you're somebody in your team is stamping this, so the liability is on you. So as far as what's that?
You took the words right out of my mouth. Sorry.
Right. So do we compromise by acknowledging the comment that our peer reviewer made? Perhaps we do. That's all. We just put it in a finding. This is what you and just in case something ever happens someday and somebody want to pull the file and say, yeah, the peer reviewer warned us about that, and look what happened. It's on the record.
Is there any other easy compromise that can be made? I mean,
I think that's it, Dan. We're acknowledging the design. We're acknowledging the peer review comment.
Okay, you can't.
A condition that makes it more onerous on them. We're not asking them to do anything else. We're just acknowledging what was designed, presented, and what our peer reviewer recommended.
Okay.
I think that's a good compromise at this point to move past this. So, my suggestion, if that's amenable, if you're amenable to that, Michael.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm just having trouble hearing you.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
That's acceptable.
John Thomas, that's something we can easily do.
Yes.
Okay.
I can easily do that.
Okay.
I can have that prepared and for the next potential meeting, similar to the project that we just discussed.
Okay. So Michael, that was the only outstanding issue that you wanted to bring to the commission?
That is correct. There were 5 conditions that he recommended. We're perfectly fine with the other 4.
Okay, okay. John, do you have any other comments or questions?
Me, I do not. The general public may, though. I don't know.
I'm working on that. Hold on. I just wanted to make sure you were okay first. Any commission members have any comments or questions? Nope. And then anyone from the public have any comment or question on this file for 0 Hill Street? Nope. I don't see anybody there either. Do you recognize anyone, John, that may have an interest?
Give them another couple seconds. Please either unmute yourself or please raise your hand using the action item below, reaction button. Does not look like it.
Okay, so it looks like there's no other information that's owed for the file. We just have to continue this to the next meeting until we have a draft order prepared.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to continue file number 250-1108 to the February 13th meeting of the Conservation Commission.
Motion by Dan.
Second.
I think Mark needs you by here. Seconded by Mark. Roll call, Ron and Dan.
Aye.
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
and I'll vote aye. Thanks for your patience, Michael.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
I know.
All right, the next filing continuation is DET 1130, request for determination for 353 and 355 Old Colony Road. Sounds like the applicant has requested a continuance until February 13th.
So moved.
Motion made by Dan,
Second.
seconded by Ron. Roll call vote, Ron and Mark.
Aye.
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
and I'll vote aye. The next continuation is DEP file 250-1122, notice of intent for 0 West Main Street.
So moved.
They also request a continuance until February 13th. Motion by Dan,
Second.
second by Ron. Roll call vote, Ron and Mark.
Aye.
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
and I'll vote aye. And the last continuation is DEP file number 250-1119, notice of intent at 0 South Washington Street. No continuation there.
They requested
got
a
it.
continuance, actually.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
So moved.
To the 13th, Megan?
Yes.
Okay. So Dan makes a motion to continue the public hearing for 1119 to February 13th,
Second.
seconded by Ron. Roll call vote, Ron and Mark.
Aye.
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
and I'll vote aye. Next, all right, so we don't have any more hearings. The next item is the draft order of conditions for Pine Street for file number 250-1105, the Pine Street Cluster Project. And Dan, I'm sorry, John Thomas, do you want to share that order on the screen so we can go over it, please? I did have a few comments.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'll bring it up.
Sure.
Can everyone see that?
Yes,
Okay.
it's a little small though, John, but
Okay. I'll try to blow it up for you.
then again, I'm not using my big screen, so maybe I'm out of touch.
So I guess we can start going through these. John, number 4,
Mm-hmm.
the open space.
Yeah.
Is that something that they're going to have to carve out and create a plan for and record at the registry?
That is up to the planning board as part of the cluster development part of the project. They have to have some sort of open space requirement, and I guess that's still up in the air as to who's going to be in charge of managing that and that designation for that open space. So they're still, I guess, in the process of figuring that out because they have also the roadways to figure out as well. With who's going to manage the roadways, whether it's going to be the town, whether they're going to be private or public. I don't, I'm not privileged to those discussions. I've just had interactions and discussions regarding some of those features.
Yeah, so typically when we have this in here, Jen used to require that they give us proof of the plan, recording, everything, because we need to know it's executed.
Okay.
Otherwise, this is just a statement.
Okay. I mean,
If
that's
it's a
definitely,
statement, it's not an action item.
definitely we can add a condition as to requiring that confirmation of said open space designation parcel.
Yes.
So I'll add that to the requirements. Now, would that be sufficient for prior to a certificate of compliance, or do we want to have that before starting work?
We want it before.
Before starting work?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So if we get down to number 8, just the way 8 is worded, I'm putting my consultant hat on.
Okay, go for it.
A 2-year annual mitigation report. So basically, it should say an annual wetland mitigation monitoring report for a period of 2 years or
Yeah.
2 seasons or something instead of a 2-year.
Okay.
Okay, it's just a little confusing. Okay. Conservation. Okay, so then we talk about an invasive species management plan. Are they going to owe us that for review and approval, or?
So these were all recommendations from the letters that the peer review consultant provided us.
Right.
And they said to implement these in the event that invasive species were to grow in that area. So, we can request that as something that, as part of this annual report over 2 years, if invasive species are present or habituating the area, then I think it's necessary that they implement an invasive species management plan.
Oh, I'm not questioning that.
Yeah.
It's just the deliverable. So if,
Okay.
if the wetland monitoring report states that or recommends that they should do it, then they'll give it to us for review and approval. So right now, it just says that they're going to implement it. Do we
Okay.
want to review it? That's the question, right? So again, it's an action item. I'm putting my consultant hat on saying,
Sure.
what do I need to do versus just a statement?
Sure. I mean, we can
Yeah.
definitely add that to deliverable that they have to provide us in the event that they do grow or end up being in the area. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so if we keep going down, are we
Now
asking?
we won't know that until they build the
Right,
area and do the monitoring. So
right. So if
guess-
required, it should say if
if
required.
required. Okay.
Yep.
And then okay. All right. I'll put that in there.
Okay. So do we call out for the timing of the mitigation? Because typically we say before you can do any other construction, or it should be done first, right?
So the issue with this is that they're going to have to create the bridge-like structure to get to the other side.
Yep.
And I guess the question is, they're going to be focusing on the roadway, to create that for getting access from point A to point B. I guess the biggest question is, do we want following roadway construction at that location, or do we
Yeah.
want to have it be, once you get to the other side, you've got to do this?
Or we tie it to prior to the, house construction or, the first,
Well, the houses themselves are not part of this, so
Oh,
it's only
right,
the,
right, right.
it's only the roadway, so that's what
Right.
I'm getting at. So,
okay,
they're gonna have to file individually for all these other permits.
okay. So yes, you are correct. We should tie it to, the roadway construction, but you have to define roadway construction. For me, it could be plowing through the woods and making a passable thing, up to the binder course, up to.
I think the binder course is sufficient enough because that will give them enough traction to get in there, and then, obviously all the work that's happening, they can resurface the roadway afterwards if that's something the commission feels comfortable with.
Yep, I think that makes sense. So is that, I'm sorry, I don't have the whole thing open right now. Let's
That's
see.
fine.
Was that number 9? We should put that maybe in as number 9 or
For which?
the timing.
The timing, I can put that right underneath this,
Okay,
the timetable for the wetland replication.
Yep.
So these numbers will change, but that's all right. I can make the adjustments.
okay. So then we get into the wetland crossing, findings, stormwater. Okay, subdivision, housing. Okay, so it excludes the housing, the driveways, the septics. Okay. So I'm wondering if we should put the opposite up in the conservation findings in 1 through 7. So we say that what it excludes, but I think we should put what it includes in 1 through 7 somewhere.
Okay. I mean, I could definitely do that under conservation findings.
Okay, so it's very clear, like this is the only thing you're allowed to do, never
Right.
mind what you're not allowed to do.
Yeah, so one of the other things, this was kind of what I thought of. Actually, I can just share it up on my screen here. Actually, I don't know if you see that, but was that one of the conditions that I was looking through just to double check. Sorry, I had a lot of orders to deal with today. But one of the conditions was the fact that there was no stream channel depicted on the USGS map, and that there are no observed stream channels present within the wetland crossing area. This is all for the wetland crossing area, and that the 1.2 bankful width was determined utilizing a drainage area confirmed through the ground truth survey and USGS stream stats, which Claire and the peer review consultant discussed at great length. So that was one of the other things that I wanted to bring to the attention of the commission.
The reason I think it may be important to include that is if we're looking back, somebody's looking back on this someday and
Right.
going, what did they do? Why
Right.
did they do it? It just
Right.
provides some context.
Yeah, and that's another point that I wanted to add to this, and I was going to put it in the top of the wetland crossing findings. So right here,
Okay,
right before number 9, it's one of the things that I missed.
I think that makes sense.
Okay.
And I think most of the other ones were administrative. Unless you had anything specific to ask us on them, but I was okay with the rest of them.
No, I didn't have anything specific. Does the commission agree with kind of the clause that I had down here with kind of the number 15? I just wanted to make sure everybody was comfortable with that. I tried to word it the best I could.
Yeah,
As it pertains to a lot of and it's actually not condition number 11. I've changed numbers. It's actually number 12,
okay,
which is this one right here. So this was kind of all the stuff taken from context from discussions with DEP and also the Wetlands Protection Act. So it's kind of validating the decision made by the Conservation Commission for the wetland crossing.
yes,
And then here is kind of just the findings for this.
Yeah, I'm just a little confused by the first one.
Okay,
Commission finds that the applicant proposes the following. An alternative for access which does not. Oh, okay, I got it. I guess I had to read it out loud.
yeah.
Okay. So these are just more findings. Okay.
Mhm. And
So do
as
we have the actual wetland replication area that is the ratio, do we have the actual ratio?
I don't have it off the top of my head right
Okay.
now, but it's greater than 1 to 1
Okay.
by I think I can't remember off the top of my head. I know it's I want to say 1.5 or 1.6 something.
Okay, that's fine.
I could add that to this.
Okay. So maybe, 16, it looks like there's something there, this work. The end of 16.
Oh yeah,
work.
this order, please strike that. That's
Yeah.
a mistype.
Okay,
This is an older PDF.
okay. So, I mean, I had no other comments. Did anybody else on the commission have a comment or question? No? Okay. I think we may need a motion then if we're comfortable with the order.
So moved.
Ron makes a motion to issue the order of conditions as discussed for DEP file 250-1105, second by, seconded by Mark. Roll call vote, Ron and Mark.
Aye.
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
and I'll vote aye. The next order of conditions is for DEP file number 250-1115 for 0 King Philip Road. And did anybody have any comments on that one?
I
Did
did have a
anybody
couple.
read that one?
I had a couple. I'm just trying to give me a minute to pull it up.
Yeah, you did. John Thomas, if we could, I know I've been to other commissions where they do this and it's a lot easier to just pull it up on the screen. So we're all reminded of what the conditions are and the findings when we're voting would be
Yeah.
helpful.
I'm pulling it up right now. Give me 1 second.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I see your comment in here, and one of my comments was on the date, so that's minor detail. I guess my question was more on the marking, the visual barrier, mark the no disturbance zone, where this is a unique project, obviously, where this intrudes quite a bit into the no disturbance zone. I don't recall, and I was trying to look earlier at the most up-to-date version of the plan, but I don't recall there being a clear. Normally, we would have it at generally the 25-foot buffer zone, but I don't recall there being a line marked on the plans that clearly identified where the no disturbance zone would be for this project. I imagine it's some difference between, the actual wetland border in some cases versus the where we can the 25-foot line, but
So the question is then tied back to the plan. Is there something on the plan that says no disturbance zone?
right. And to me, this is one where, inches matter. So 50 years down the line, if someone's asking, should the barrier be in this place? We want to be able to clearly say, this is where it should have been, right?
Exactly. So John, was that where the sediment control limit was supposed to be?
Yeah,
turned into the
for this project, my recommendation to the applicant or the potential future landowner of the property would be to install them where the limit of work is or at the edge of where the mitigation area is going to be for this project because of the sensitivity that Mark and you yourself, Lisa, have outlined.
So I think Mark's right. I think we need to define it. So I'm just looking at the plan now.
Okay. So it says the no disturbance zone shall be demarcated in the field with a visual barrier at the limit of work, right at 56.
Right, but we need to define what the no disturbance zone, what it is on the, relating it back to the plan. Is there a line on the plan that says no disturbance zone?
I'd have to pull up the plan. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, I'm looking at it and I don't see it. So Mark's right. It's not
Supplement.
tied to,
4 is the most recent one. 12/22/22.
Yeah.
Is that the most recent? Here we go.
I mean, unless there is something that says, oh, 25-foot NCC policy line. But that runs through the middle of the driveway, so that can't be it. So it's probably gonna, well, probably, I shouldn't be guessing, but so it looks like it may be the sediment, well, they're calling it an erosion control.
It's that, yeah, it's that erosion control set at limit of work. That's the barrier there. So the orange line that you see there.
Okay, so I think we need to reference it very specifically here that says, I mean, there's nothing on the plan that ties it back. So I think what we
Okay,
should say
that's
is
fine.
that the
Yeah, I can add text right here. So
So
the
the-
visual,
it's an erosion control, it's supposed to be sediment control barrier.
I know.
Limit of work, right? That shall constitute the no disturbance zone, and that's what should be visually marked off in the field, or whatever.
So I'm just trying to trace off the whole line from the, I don't know what side this is, the northeast.
Oh, behind the house?
So
it runs
in
along-
front of, by the road, the 25-foot is essentially the corner of the property, right? So that's ordinarily where we would require the barrier to be, but then you hit the driveway. Right, I understand that they're gonna be, they're doing, I forget what they called it, this area in the front by the road where
They're doing mitigation.
yeah,
Yeah, wetland mitigation.
So it'll be on the wetland side of that, right? On the, do you see the orange line, Mark?
yeah,
Okay. So what they
So
do in the
that's-
end is they should be, they take out the sediment control and they install it in the same footprint.
right, right. But just that ordinarily it would be the blue line in this case, not the orange line. For
Exactly.
those projects, so.
It's almost coincidental with the edge of the BVW.
So, but in this case, we're saying that the orange line still would be where the
Limit.
visual barrier is installed, right?
Yes. in the
Even
limit
that part of the
work.
property, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's not coincidental with the limit of work. We should not mix those two up, right?
So I guess the question is,
Because they're restoring an area. So to me, it should be clean and just say within the footprint of the sediment control limit as shown. Because it's not coincidental with the limit of work.
the orange line that's shown on the plan,
Right.
it's not coincidental with the limit of work?
Not everywhere, because we have a restoration area in
Yeah,
there.
that's what I'm talking about. The restoration area is part of the project.
Okay. But they're not calling the line the limit of work. It's so whatever we call out for in this narrative.
It's called erosion control barrier set at limit of work.
Okay, that's what we need to call it then. So there's
That's
no
what-
confusion. Sorry. Okay.
That's fine.
Good call, Mark.
Yeah, you gotta contribute
Well, 'cause-
somehow, you know?
There's a complete disconnect, you're right, between the plan and what our condition says, so.
And so I guess that would just be the question, for the entire length, and there's a lot of lines on here, so it's hard to follow, but are we okay with that being it? You know,
Yes.
and I guess
It
the
has to
question,
be
and I
that.
know this, they're kind of doing us a solid here by doing this restoration area, which wasn't necessarily a requirement or in response to anything particular, but my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but because I'm going based on my memory, which isn't great, but they intend not to disturb that area in the future.
That's
The area-
correct. That,
So,
that mitigation area will be protected as part of this project.
So,
So,
okay, so I
the
know what you're
question-
gonna say next.
The
is
question
that-
is, do we want to have them put
Yeah.
signage in front of that mitigation area? And in essence, so what we'll do is we'll basically request
Yeah.
that the westerly side of the road be have a visual barrier.
Or
sorry, of the road or the driveway?
the driveway.
Driveway, sorry.
Or
That's
do
what I
we
meant.
Or do we extend from wetland flag A6 right to the street, John Thomas? Do you see that?
I see that, yeah.
So maybe we can just say that it shall follow the sediment control line between, well, this is kind of wonky, but follow the control line, behind the house, and then it goes from A16 to A6. And then I think at that point it should head due northeast to King Philip Road. I don't know how the hell we're gonna show that, but
Well, hopefully we're doing somebody a favor here there, though, because if they truly intend to keep that area undisturbed, at some point when they have to replace that fence, because this is in perpetuity, they're going to be going through the woods at that point. So
yeah,
to me,
we
it's
also,
probably easiest to follow the driveway up till the point where it starts to bend.
yeah, we want to make sure it's not on top of the force main though, either. In case they have to ever repair that, so it should be offset from that force main. Okay, how do you want to write that up, John Thomas?
Yeah.
So, okay, we want to see set at the limit of the erosion control line, right? I would say at the rear of the house, and then between wetland flag A16 to, what's that one, A6?
I mean,
A6.
I would probably say from wetland flag A17 where the limit of the work line is. And if you're going north, you follow that all the way up till you get to,
A6.
A6, and then you continue from A6 directly to King Philip. Yeah.
A parallel to the driveway.
Yeah.
The only problem with that is we left off the one in the back, which is going to be really important because that's probably the only patch of whatever that's going to remain natural, probably woods, right? That's a major component back there. It's the only
So-
natural part of the site.
All right. So if that's what we want to do, then let's.
So we could say so to set it at the erosion control barrier.
You know what? Why don't I do this instead?
Yeah.
Why don't I just insert an image into this order of conditions
Can you do that?
showing? Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, let's do that.
So let's see, hold on one sec. Let me see. Can everyone see this on my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. The plan, you can see the plan?
Oh, I didn't even
Yes.
have the latest. Okay, yes.
You can see this plan?
Yep.
All right. So my thought is that, can everyone see my cursor? Or no?
Yes,
Okay.
vaguely, yeah.
All right. So let me just give me 1 second. Apologies. Let me actually just draw this up so that way I can get the
Yep.
commission's approval.
So I don't know if it helps, but there is a detail sheet about the split rail fence in the back as well.
Yeah, they're gonna put a split rail fence there. But
Oh,
they're gonna,
so Megan, that shows what it's gonna look like, but probably maybe not where it's going.
Okay.
I think that's the difference.
so let me actually just bring this back up. And this should
Mark
be,
Fernandez, I think you found your calling in life.
That's my one skill, I guess.
You're gonna look at all these from now on with an eye towards
for some
that.
reason,
I'll never get one by me.
sorry, for some reason it's not working for me. Give me 1 second. Trying to get the correct.
You trying to import the image into the PDF?
I'm trying to open it up so that way I can draw on it rather than
Oh, I see.
in the web program. Okay, here we go. Apologies. Technical difficulties. All right, can everyone see my cursor now?
Yep.
Okay. So, sorry, let me just do a comment here. Highlight. So I'm thinking, or I can't do that.
Oh, there's no highlighter?
So here's my thought as to, usually I don't have this, I don't do this normally at on my home computer, so I apologize.
Oh.
What was custom graphics? There's an option for that.
Yeah, I don't know.
John, the highlighter won't work?
I have no idea. I'm just trying to get a line.
The highlight button.
All right, here we go. This
Yep.
is what I'm thinking.
Yep.
Is you just go like this, and then you go like this. And I can do this on the computer at the office. It's a lot easier. And what I'll do is I'll just basically
So
take this and take this to there or something like that.
Yeah, just offset it from that force main.
Right, and offset it
Yeah.
from the force main.
So can you go south just a bit again? First of all, I just want to bring something to the attention on the legend. They have the pink line says split rail fence. And
Oh,
so,
oh, that's interesting, because it should be behind that.
No, they said they were going to put a split rail fence.
Oh, all right, well, that's even
Here.
better, Mark, because they're protecting even more.
yeah,
Right.
that was going to be my
Yeah.
question. Is I
Okay.
understand they're restoring that area too. So seems like makes
Right.
But
sense.
it looks like
sense
they
in front of it.
stopped the split rail
So
along the house.
So then if that's the case, then what we'll do is we'll come from the split rail fence here.
Yep.
And I'll do the same thing where I'll take it up the line here.
Yep.
And I will provide an image that marks this up a lot better than I can
Okay.
on my computer here. So
Okay. So it's interesting that they didn't continue it, though.
Well, I guess that's my question is knowing that that's substantially larger than what was on the plan, is the applicant going to have concerns with? Obviously that increases the cost substantially. Would there be alternate?
So yeah, so the other suggestion would be, obviously they are going to put in the split rail fence at this location. The alternative would be to put in those cedar posts, just to promote that the area is subject to sensitivity area for environmental protection, habitat values, the like for the conservation department and commission.
I mean, personally, I think the two most important areas are the ones just past the house where the driveway starts, right? Because you can't really do much past that. So up to
Right.
flag WF 12,
Mhm.
right? Even back further, 12,
Oh, 12. Yep.
Yeah.
Here.
right? That makes sense to me. The rest of it's driveway.
Right.
And then if you go down the front,
Mhm.
just protecting maybe that area, and that's a compromise. And so to Mark's point, instead of having them run it all the way down, it could get in the way of the plow, blah, blah. No one's going off the edge of the driveway, hopefully, and intruding, right?
Mhm.
So maybe we just put it down this way. Just one more down that way.
So you want, say again, sorry,
Ended at 12. I would extend it a little further.
to extend this all the way to 12?
Yep.
Okay.
And then I would pick it back up again to protect that area in front.
So then this area here.
Yeah.
So
And do
from,
we-
so from 6 to here.
Yep.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Mark?
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense, especially the area by the house where, you're 8 feet from wetlands. I think it makes sense to have that be a split rail fence, and it's very clear.
Mhm.
You know,
Does the commission still want posts in between or no?
I don't personally see the need for them because it's a driveway and shoulder, but
I'm just thinking for potential snow storage reasons.
but they can put it in between the posts, how far the post's gonna be spaced. I just think they're gonna be in the way, but,
So I have a provision in here saying that snow storage needs to be, to the extent most practical, outside the 25 foot. So that only leaves it for this
that's gonna
location.
be impossible. Because as you're plowing, I mean, I'm on a long driveway, right? So as you're plowing, every couple, however many feet, you have to go off. You can't push it all the way.
Gonna have a mountain of snow otherwise.
Yeah,
And that's why I say to the extent most practical,
yeah, exactly.
because I know realistically it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
But I don't want to see them plowing right into the wetland adjacent.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can say to that, because I have to at times when the snow is built up, is that it's not coming into contact with a pollutant.
Mhm.
It's pretty much virgin snow when we plow it, right? It's not like it's sitting there subject to oil, grease, and everything else. So
Agreed.
it's a tough call because I know because I'm living it too, and you got to put it where you got to put it at some point.
Right.
But I like to the extent practicable.
Okay. Yeah, that is one of the conditions in here.
Okay. So are we comfy with it up by the house and then up at that other area and not the need for it along the driveway? What do you think?
Yeah, so it's gonna, you said come up to
Yeah, I think it
12
should
here?
end there because I think the chances of them going further on that side because it's lawn and pushing the envelope are much greater than the
And then-
driveway. I mean, they're in the drink. They're not gonna start planting lawn along the driveway.
And then something like this, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then that way it's not the expense of doing it the whole way.
And then in between, no posts, but they should know where the resource areas are.
How do we mark that off? I don't know. How far apart would the posts be?
Every 50 feet.
All right, well, that's not so bad. I mean, it's not gonna stop them from plowing, but
No, but it will
Okay.
just,
so.
you'll probably have 1, 2.
So it'll be, okay, so it'll be a combination of split rail up to A12, between A12 and A6, it'll be the posts spaced every 50. Okay,
Does that seem fair?
that's reasonable,
Okay. It's not a split rail the whole entire way,
right?
but okay. I will put that in there and I will probably just have a diagram showing as such, just take a snapshot of this
Okay,
as such, that we have identified 2 posts and some split rail up to wetland flag 12. And then from wetland flag 6 to the north to the street, being, knowing in the know-how that the force main is going to be there too. Does that seem reasonable?
yep.
good.
Okay.
So were there any other comments on the draft order?
No, I didn't have any
If
more.
not, I can entertain a motion to issue the order conditions as discussed.
So moved.
Motion by Ron,
Second,
second by Dan. Roll call, Ron and Dan.
aye.
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
and I'll vote aye. The next item is the draft order of conditions for file DEP 250-1114, 306 to 308 Main Street. Just calling that up.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm pulling it up right now.
Thank you.
Can everyone see that?
So, John Thomas, number 7.
Yes.
The NCC find that the applicant shall. So do we want to tie those to any, prior to start of construction or anything?
So in section 20 or condition number 20,
Okay, so it's a repeat. Okay,
they'll provide the following, and that's where that is.
okay. So the reference to utilizing the easterly entrance drive, that's for just construction activities?
That's just for construction activities.
Okay, might just want to put that somewhere,
So
construction term.
construction, how do you want me to word that?
Drive. During construction, comma, utilize the, and then I think it's good.
Okay.
Let's see. Where's is the following? It's the addition. Limit of work. So we're not calling out for any any split rail or anything with the limit of work, buffer zone, nothing there that we need to address.
So I think the applicant and the applicant's representative was gonna suggest putting in a fence just to prohibit trespassing issues. I just got an email from them, and I'm sure they can speak on to that in more detail. Deshang, are you on the call?
Yes, I'm sorry, my computer has some issues.
Well, we have everything for the file. This is not a public hearing, right? But
Yeah, it's a to address the condition number 47, which
Okay.
requires a barrier.
okay,
So to the wetlands. So if you are familiar with the site, as John probably knows, there are lots of kind of trespassing and LTVs running in that area where the proposed detention pond is. I don't know if even though I don't have my video, if I can share. John, you have that, my plan?
Yeah,
or you want,
I have it, Deshang.
yeah,
It's
if you
just
can share
I
the
can
plan, we
I
can
I
explain.
can I can share something for the commission
so I
as to
just want to make the distinction. Is this something that is at the commission's request for no disturbance zone, or is it's just something that the owner wants to do to prevent trespassing?
this is a compromise between both. So they're
Right,
looking to establish the visual barrier as our normal condition, but they also want to have it be the same sort of permanent kind of obstruction that would prevent anyone from entering the premises unannounced.
Okay.
And as such, I guess the question from them is the commission amenable to a chain link fence instead of split rail fence for this sort of activity?
I would have to look at it in the context of landscape fragmentation. Do they need a 6-inch reveal for common wildlife? I don't know. I would need to see it in that context.
Okay.
We also
John.
want to change, excuse me, we also want to change number 47 to read property owner instead of homeowner, but
Oh, sorry. My apologies.
that's okay. So I would want to see that where you're talking about the fence in the context of any potential migration, just common wildlife.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a good question. So John, if you bring up the plan, I marked up. So we just trying to put in 2 sections. One is to stop the north side intrusion, and the other one is for establish the barrier to the wetlands buffer so that we will not have any disturbance to the wetlands. But in the middle, we are going to leave it open, so therefore the wildlife will not be interrupted or impeded for their migration. For some smaller creatures, I believe this detention infiltration basin is going to be sand bottom. It may provide some valid function for some reptiles. So in that perspective, we can install the fence, they can leave 10 inches gap under at the bottom. So
Yeah,
which
typically it's
which
6
right
inches.
6 to 10 inches, whichever the commission prefer, will not impede any reptiles or migration. So that will be it's kind of to fulfill the commission's condition. At the same time, I think it's also a safeguard for the function of the infiltration basin down the road. So we definitely don't want to have any snowmobile, whatever, LTVs running into our basin. So if
Understood, Yasheng. So in light of discussions with the commission, and kind of discussions with the applicant as it pertains to the visual barrier, the applicant, will install some sort of fence, at the location starting, can everyone see my screen?
Yeah,
No?
yeah, we do, but we see the order.
You only see the order? Okay, let me
yeah,
just,
you need to shift it to
Yeah. give me 1 second. I'm dealing with a lot of stuff here.
right now, sure.
So here is the map. Can everyone see this map?
Yes.
So this is the map that was previously approved and closed out for the project. It just, the applicant has identified the limits of where the visual barrier will be proposed. So starting at the southern portion of the property, near where they're proposing the extent of the, I guess, the refurbishments to the storm scepter and everything that was associated with the stormwater management. They'll be heading along the limit of work / proposed sediment control line, and they'll be heading all the way up, and I presume it's going to keep extending this way until they get to the location where the gravel access meets the grass access road right at the northern portion of the property here. So the extent of that is clearly defined. So what I'll do is I'll put that in the order and take a snapshot of this too, and just have that for record that will be the established visual barrier line. And if there's any sort of discussions pertaining to what sort of fencing or is required, obviously it needs to meet kind of what the commission has discussed with, making sure that it doesn't harm any sort of native habitat or any sort of potential species. So I'll do that in anticipation of this order of conditions.
So John, just one thing, we from the condition 47, we can stop at the buffer zone. So that's why I started from that hill. There's a hill at the north point. So picking up from that hill and then have like the fence, another L shape. And so we can keep the middle open. It probably be easier for wildlife if they want to migrate into the area for some reason.
Okay, I'm just letting you know that you're going to have potential egress into that basin if it's not protected.
Yeah, so that's one thing we will, I guess will probably not preventing us to as you said, just go through. We can talk to that. Part of the reasons I say, well, if I kind of we feel that just like Lisa commented. So
Okay. Well, I mean,
any
it's
migration
outside,
purpose,
just saying, it's outside the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission.
right?
So it's up to the owner, but
Right.
if that's the intention, I think that that's something that you want to take into advisement.
Sure. Yeah, we can discuss when we see in the field. So I left
Okay.
that open because the project is beyond the buffer zone, and
Right.
also
No, I mean, for the purposes of this kind of jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission, the only thing I'm concerned about is the line that's here,
Right.
going all the way down through here and going all the way into the buffer zone.
right.
This up here, this has no bearing on the Conservation Commission because it's outside their jurisdiction. But it's part of the project, so that's why you're gonna incorporate it. But if you are gonna potentially have a fence that goes from here to here, I don't see any issue with that.
Right. Okay. Yeah, the basin originally on one of those plans, we did mark chain fence. I didn't realize it's probably because of the existing smaller infiltration basin has a chain fence around. But if you're looking on the south and southwest, the big infiltration basin, there's no chain fence around it, which I think it's dry basin. This basin has a maximum water level in the basin like 1.72 feet deep, and it's going to be dewatered in a couple hours. So there's not really safety concern with the fencing out that close to it. It's really not benefit to in my opinion, to benefit anything. So this chain link fence barrier, as far as I'm thinking of, probably 4 feet will be probably adequate. So that's also like the commission input. I know lots of towns with like a monument like 2 feet above ground. So it's up to the commission whether you want the chain link fence 4 foot or 6 foot. But I feel the 6 foot is like probably visual barrier rather than the actual barrier to preventing dumping. So
John, this is Mark Arnold. So just in regards to this fence, basically the applicant's willing to propose the fence in the location of the buffer zone in a manner that's amendable to the commission, whether it's a chain link fence or something else.
Right.
That purpose is a barrier. And so just for the point of this condition, we have no problem with a condition putting a barrier along the limit of work, which protects a lot more of the buffer zone than just the 25 foot. So I think whatever manner that is, it'll definitely be wildlife friendly for sure. And then other fencing on the property around the base and the top may be considered, but at this point it's not proposed.
Thank you for that clarification, Mark.
John Thomas, we just need to make sure there's enough wiggle room in the condition that, it's at their discretion what they want to put in. However, they just need to facilitate wildlife passage with a gap. That's all.
Yeah, and I'll make sure that is under advisement, and I'll put that in a stipulation as part of prior to receiving a certificate of compliance, we evaluate that and ensure that that's the case.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
So are there any other questions or comments on the draft order of conditions for, where are we? 1114? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the draft order as discussed.
So moved.
Motion by Ron, second by Mark. Roll call vote, Ron and Mark.
Aye.
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
and I'll vote aye. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so
Thank
much. Have a
you.
good night.
And the last item on the agenda is a draft order of conditions for file 2501120 for 257 Plain Street.
We also have minutes.
No, I'm just talking about the orders.
Right.
I haven't gotten to that section yet. I'm ahead of you, Dan. I'm on fire tonight.
You are. You're getting things done.
Working all day. Let's see. This was pretty straightforward with findings.
I see a wordsmithing issue. Let me just get that. There we go. I didn't want Dan getting on me on that one.
What was?
I had
Time
high instead of
at
home.
home. We got it though. We got it. Yeah. So, I mean, I had no comments on this one. Did anybody have any comments? If not, I will entertain a motion to accept the draft order.
So moved.
Motion by Ron to accept the draft order for 1120.
Second.
Seconded by Mark. Roll call, Ron and Mark,
Aye.
Aye.
Stan,
Aye.
and I'll vote aye. Okay, on to meeting minutes.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a
Um,
favor? Can we actually take on Ken Thompson? He's been waiting patiently
Oh,
to discuss.
sure.
Yeah,
Which, item is that?
that's the enforcement order.
Oh, sure. Okay, so, under new, business, I guess this is new, 376 Old Colony, response to an enforcement order.
From 1990. So the new owner purchased the property. It's a large property. It's about 1,400 feet deep. He needs an excavator. He wants to use the part of the back of the property as a yard, a storage yard. Can I have control of the screen, John?
You have co-hosting capabilities, Ken.
Okay. As you can you see this?
Not yet.
You gotta share that thing, don't you? How do you
So-
share? Oh, there it is.
Thomas, who brought this violation to our attention?
It was actually part of a file that I pulled when the current owner was purchasing the property.
Oh, okay, okay.
So it's part of that discussion.
Okay. I'm in the drawing. Can you see this?
Yes,
And you see my cursor moving?
yes.
All right. As you can see, a very large parcel. That's Chartley Pond. And basically, in the past, we went out and delineated this past spring. I've got 4 areas of impact coming down an existing roadway. There's a lot of roadways out here. This is a former retail nursery. These are all greenhouses back here, and was an old barn that's collapsed. 2-story space of retail, and it had an apartment out on top, but they're not gonna let him use it as an apartment. He wants to come in and have display.
Ken, before you even start about talking about what he wants to do,
Yep.
why don't we talk about kind of what he's proposing to do as part of the mitigation
Okay.
to kind of give the commission kind of a sense on how the
Yeah, I mean, you
applicants.
gotta file a notice of intent for what you
Yeah,
want to do.
He knows. He knows.
The acreage is large. I mean, we were gonna build a road in here and excavate out, there's 2 feet of fill in here with 3 feet of muck underneath. So it's remove the fill, fluff up the soils. This is a culvert crossing that's in place. We'd like to leave that, restore it as part of the notice of intent, to upgrade that, handle trucks, dump trucks. This is the end of the road here. Before he gets into this area down here, which is a large upland hill, he wants to flatten that and build siltation basins and things like that. And then there's another section of the road down here. The road goes all the way out to the peninsula. There's a road that goes all the way out.
So what I'm seeing is that we need restoration plans and specs, sequencing details for restoring those wetland areas that were filled, correct?
That is correct.
Okay,
And basically, I'm gonna unshare this window. I don't know how I do that. Okay.
You could just hit stop share and then share again. It's the easiest way to do it.
My window, the AutoCAD takes up the whole window. That's my problem. Where'd you go? There you are. Share screen. I've started mitigation plans just to begin with. I mean, it's Army Corps style, trees 10 foot on center, about 50% of the number of trees is shrubs. I only have to make soil within this rear mitigation area, restoration area. And then we're gonna have a mitigation area for the culvert crossing and the end to get to the upland hill. And as part of the notice of intent.
So Ken, before we even get into the notice of intent stuff, let's talk about the mitigation part of to get in compliance with the, to fulfill the enforcement order. That is, to kind of repair the damage that has been done by the previous landowner.
In the
That
two,
Yeah,
in the 2 restoration areas, we're gonna remove the fill and plant it, stabilize it using erosion controls. To mitigate for the culvert crossing, the permanent impacts of the culvert crossing and this little tip here, that one 5,000. We will create a mitigation area where we will make the soils, do the Army Corps planting, stabilize it, monitor it. So there's about 1,600 square feet of permanent impact in the end. And we're gonna create 5,000 mitigation. So it's about 4 to 1 for you. Now, the other two areas, I'm gonna bring up unshare, stop sharing.
So do you have topography in all those locations?
He does, based on what I
Okay.
saw.
The
Okay.
engineer still is working on it.
Okay, so we're coming up with a restoration plan to remove the fill that was placed illegally and then a planting plan. Is that correct?
Yes, and what I'm hoping, we can do the bulk of this work underneath the enforcement order. And then do the final stuff, the site development, the crossing, the repair of the culvert and things like that under the notice of intent. Otherwise, this is a 2-year permitting process because it's over the 5,000 limit. We have to go through MEPA, water quality, and Army Corps too.
Why do you have to go through MEPA?
It's over 5,000 square feet of impact.
You gotta review your regs. That's not why you go through MEPA. I mean, if it's a limited project, it's a limited project. You don't have to go through MEPA if you don't meet performance standards. So I'd take a peek at that again. John Thomas, we need to separate what activities prompted the enforcement versus deferring stuff to a notice of intent. I think that's critical.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there a copy of the original enforcement order somewhere for review? I didn't see it.
I don't have it on the files.
Okay.
I have a lot of correspondence from my predecessor, requesting kind of information from the previous landowner. They've sold this property to Ken's client, and Ken's client has been willing to take on the responsibility of pursuing this. So, you know, I've been kind of trying to, I guess, best guide them on the procedures, but I think the most important and imperative thing is to try to at least, you know, take a good stab at the wetland mitigation portion of this, getting a understanding as to what the confinements and kind of the whole details surrounding this kind of alleviation for mitigation is going to be, and then kind of then take a look at the next phase, which be kind of what he wants to do to improve the remainder of the site and bring the site back into compliance. Because as part of this, you know, we can do, as Ken has said, we can do some of this work under the enforcement order, which gives the applicant some flexibility. But still, I think that at some point, the proper permits will need to be pursued by the applicant.
Definitely. I mean, the site needs a septic system, it needs stormwater, needs a lot of things to bring it up into today's compliance.
Mm-hmm.
So that the main part of the notice of intent.
Yeah, I think the site has an existing cesspool. Is that correct, Ken?
Yes,
Or
yes,
something
it
like that?
does.
So it's non-conforming on a couple, and has a couple code violations, I think, as well. So they're looking to do improvements to this property. It's just, it's going to take some time. And I wanted Ken to kind of come in front of the commission to kind of give them a sense that they're willing to, you know, take a stance on to try to make this property better and try to conform to the requirements for mitigation. They understand the complexity and everything involved with it. And they're hoping that they can, you know, get on the right footpath for getting this through.
Yeah, we just have to keep in mind what we just went through for a similar situation. I'm seeing this through to the end, and we're seeing this violation cleaned up first before we do anything else. I can tell you that, and you can quote me, and you can put it on the front page, because we got screwed last time.
Okay, that's fair enough.
You can read
You can
all
hold my
about
feet
it.
to the, you can hold my feet to the fire right now.
And you can read all about it, the SJC. So,
Okay,
yep. So I just want you to make the distinction between what you have to fix under the violation, under the enforcement order versus, we really don't want to hear about any new proposed work yet. We want to
Okay.
make the lot right first. We worry about the notice of intent and what your intentions are later. After
okay,
you think about it.
the only
It's
issue. I
gonna
want
give
to
us all a heart attack all over again.
Okay, I've done this a few times. Anyways, the only thing is I need to store whatever I dig out of that front big wetland, that 6,000 or 5,000 square foot fill, I gotta put it somewhere. And I wanna put it toward the back. Can I put like,
Why are you bringing in Phil?
I'm not, I'm
He's not.
removing it from the wetland.
He's going to have to excavate the placed fill that was put there.
Okay, so is there anywhere that's outside of jurisdiction, outside of the buffer zone? that
the
you
piece-
can-
Back hill. It's
The piece of the
back hill.
property in the back. Yeah.
So instead of doing repairs right now, I'll use steel plates and log, what do you call those, what the utilities use to get
Timber
out.
mats.
Thank you. We'll use that to do the second cross, and then we'll just get out there and get it cleaned up. That way, all that material comes out, and then the rest comes from the back rear area, and we can get that off there, and those are two big areas restored.
Okay, are you gonna reuse that material at some point?
Yeah, he probably will. If it's usable,
Okay.
he'll sell it. That's what he does. He does rock, gravel, mulch, wood. You know what I mean? That's
Okay.
that road is perfect for a retail space. That's what he really wants it for. There's a lot of traffic on that road.
So it seems like, Ken, you have kind of guidance to go forward with doing the mitigation portion of this project. You know, I think that, you know, under the enforcement order, you can start kind of, please send over the plans, kind of your procedures, kind of put a plan together for us.
Yep.
You know, maybe before the next meeting, we can take a look at that.
That'd be fine.
And then, you know, we can comment on it if needed, and then I can pull together all the historic files to kind of give the commission a little bit more history regarding the site, just to kind of get them up to date on that. But this was more just a kind of informal kind of
Say hi.
discussion.
Say
Okay,
hi,
Mhm.
get my warning. Don't mess around. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
okay,
You'll see from me soon.
All right. Thank you, Ken.
Bye.
thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so now we wanna look at meeting minutes.
So we actually received a certificate of compliance for 145. Is it Plain Street, Megan?
A request?
Yeah,
request
partial.
Yeah, partial.
I'm sorry, what was the address?
145R Plain Street, right?
Okay, did you have a chance to visit that site?
I did, and I met with the applicant. He put in some visual barrier, and I gave him the placards per the plan. So we had those installed. Was it last week? And so that was put in, and the extent of the work was for a gravel driveway. I can actually just pull it up. Is it in here, Megan? I just can't remember.
It is, I put it in.
Okay. So I'll just pull this up and kind of show the commission what we received. Can everyone see this plan?
Yes.
So
Yes.
this was previously approved by the commission. There was identified a gravel driveway that was to provide access to a residence out back. The highway, 495 is right here. This is where Plain Street goes over the highway over here. And there was a adjacent, I guess, wetland and riverfront area that was associated with this project site. So the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission was the furthest most point would be the riverfront area, which is right here. So I instructed the applicant to ensure that a visual barrier was placed along the edge of the gravel drive as shown on the plans. So that was all done, and I don't have any issues with the placement of the gravel drive as shown on this plan, or anything else regarding this project. It seemed pretty straightforward.
Okay. So it's a request for partial COC for file 2501079.
Correct.
Okay.
They're not done with the house yet.
Okay, so that's why it's a partial.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
So move.
Ron made a motion to issue.
Second?
Is that Mark?
Yep.
Seconded by Mark. Roll call, Ron and Mark.
Aye.
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye. Okay, now meeting minutes.
Yeah, that's all I have. Sorry. We've been bombarded with a lot of stuff.
I know.
There's a lot more stuff coming too.
Okay, can't wait. All right. Let's see. These are quite extensive.
Oh, yes, they are.
I think the only,
Um,
the funny thing is the spell check, the spell corrector, again,
Storm Scepter.
Storm Scepter. Yeah.
I keep Googling it too to make sure I'm spelling it right, and I think it's fixing it for me.
It probably is. That's okay. We know what you mean, but we probably want to fix that. But everything else I thought was very detailed.
Okay.
Now,
Go, Dan.
something about, okay, I'm going, I gotta get my show comments. Where are my comments? Not,
Remember, I'm pregnant, so don't make me cry.
Yeah, don't go easy, Dan.
oh, in that case, everything looks great. Um, when the baby comes out, then I will,
Well, Dan,
I will-
you have volunteered yourself until July 6th, I heard. So
Yeah.
oh
To-
yeah,
to be-
yeah, this is, well, one thing is, if I may ask,
He's ignoring that.
we talk about,
he sees how many pages it is, and he doesn't even want to talk about it.
the ILSF, there's part where something is both an ILSF, but it doesn't have an ILSF. And that is not Megan's fault. That's, see how I said that? That is, something that we might, I just
What page
can't
is that
find it.
thing?
I can't find it because this thing is so big.
Is it on for
Oh, I see
Zero
it.
South Washington when it says it's ILSF but non-jurisdictional? Is that what you're talking about?
That might be it.
Yeah, so
I don't
Dan,
know.
it starts on the bottom of page 4. Nicole
Okay,
explained
here we go.
wetland B is an isolated wetland. Is that one?
Actually, that wasn't it, I guess.
I think that was one of the only hearings we talked about ILSF.
Wait,
but
no, satellite, no. No, I don't, oh, wait a minute. Oh, I found it, yes.
Okay.
You're right. Yes, so go to page 5. Nicole, well, I corrected it, but anyway, Nicole explains that wetland B is a non-jurisdictional isolated wetland and does not qualify as ILSF and is not regulated by a local bylaw. That's basically the idea.
Mhm.
But
Okay,
You
I
were
can make
saying
that
it-
correction.
wait, I don't think there is a correction. What's your question?
well, so it's, wait a minute, is a isolated, so
So
it is a
isolated
wetland,
An isolated wetland is one thing, Dan, right? An
but it's not.
isolated-
See, it's an isolated wetland.
Mhm. So the only isolated wetlands that count as jurisdictional under the act are isolated and subject to flooding. So if you just had an isolated vegetated wetland, it's only federal jurisdiction, it's not state or local.
Oh, okay. All
That's
right.
Distinction.
Okay. All
That's
right. Well, that's one. The other thing is, oh, for heaven's sakes, these are. I'll just if I send my correction, I'll just skip my corrections.
You can send
but-
them to me and I'll make the corrections.
You cry? I don't want to cry.
No, I'll make the corrections if you send them to me.
Okay.
All right. So
Okay.
so
There's
Dan-
one other thing.
Mhm.
May I?
Yeah.
Actually, two other things. And then I'll stop being a pain in the tuchus. One is bankful. I don't think that's a word. I'm not
Oh,
even,
it is.
It is.
Oh, it is.
is it a word?
It's a word under the stream crossing standards, bankful width.
Okay, bankful.
Dan, I had to
width.
Google that too.
Yeah, it's there.
And
Okay.
bankful indicators.
Yeah, we live it and
Okay.
breathe it every day. It's a word.
All right, so that's not a problem then, and the final thing is, let's see. Okay, so whether the stream is intermittent or perennial, in other words, the idea is you have to show that to determine whether the applicant has met the stream crossing standards. Is that not correct? Do I understand that correctly?
Whether riverfront,
Whether,
whether there's a riverfront as well. First and foremost. So only
Okay,
perennial
but there's-
streams have riverfront. Intermittent does not have
But-
riverfront.
Depends what town you're in.
okay, so
Well,
there's
yeah,
a sentence that says, Amy states there is no shown stream intermittent or perennial, blah, blah, blah. So if I understand correctly, what that sentence is saying is that whether a stream is intermittent or perennial is necessary in determining whether the applicant has met the stream crossing standards.
in this case, no, because we applied the crossing standards even though it didn't show up as intermittent or perennial.
Oh,
So,
Okay.
no, her point was that the very first thing you look at is a quad map. You look to see if it's intermittent, perennial, then you look to see if you have to meet the stream crossing standards. So she was just putting it in the context, I think, of reminding us that it didn't qualify as either intermittent or perennial. It wasn't even
Okay.
showing up on the quad map.
Yeah, and that they were very
Yeah.
conservative in their approach.
Yeah,
okay,
but
so
they treated it like one. They treated it like one for design purposes. That's all. They went very conservative, which is good.
Okay, so, all right, so maybe the sentence should just be taken out, or they,
No, I think it's an important sentence because someday you'll look back in the meeting minutes thinking, why did they have to meet the stream crossing standards? You know, if it didn't qualify. She was just putting it out there, I think, for the record, just reminding us.
It's similar.
okay,
This is,
okay,
this is similar to what we're going to see with the comments for John Chesia and his peer review assessment. And
so in other words, hang with me just for one more moment. So Amy states there's neither an intermittent nor a perennial stream shown. Okay, we all agree on that, which could be necessary in determining whether the applicant has met the stream crossing standards, but doesn't in this case.
Exactly.
Okay, okay, I understand. I am down with it. I understand what is going on now. Okay. Which well, we'll say in some cases. Good. All right. Okay. The problem there is mine. So yeah, looks great, excellent. I'll send you the thing, Megan.
Okay.
So, Dan, I assume those are just the clarifications, grammatical, so that we can review, that we can approve them.
Yeah,
tonight?
is that a hint? Yeah, I think there might have been one other thing, but it was probably my fault anyway. So I don't know if there's anything else really big deal.
Well, do you want to look for it while we move on to something else?
Okay, because that's what I was doing during the OOCs anyway. So
There you go. All right. So,
All right, on to the next thing.
all right, we're going to come back to this, Dan, if you have any more comments, so we can close it out.
okay.
Okay, John Thomas,
Okay.
what's happening? Report from staff, the fee schedule, what do you want to share? Share with us, John.
Got to share, right? Working on a lot of things right now. I still have to set up a time slot to discuss the conservation fund. with the town manager, so we're working on that. Let's see, what else do I have? With regards to the Conservation Commission, I have next on my agenda is to work on the bylaw that we're gonna potentially get ready for hopefully fall town meeting to push for. So hopefully we'll have a good draft of that. We're revising a couple things internally with department procedures and things of that nature. Nothing in relationship to conservation. It's more so with just how we're communicating and stuff like that. So working on that. But with other than that, I mean, inspections, making sure that people are in compliance with the rules and regulations, trying to make sure we don't have to have any enforcements that have to come in front. So trying to keep tabs on all that before it becomes a problem. But besides that, just trying status quo, doing due diligence and making sure that everybody's aware of kind of the procedures that Conservation Commission administers.
Did you want, for some reason, I cannot open this fee schedule right now. Do you want to go over the fee schedule?
I mean, I still want to revise it. I mean, I've been looking at other towns on how that was kind of a real rough draft as to kind of what I was thinking. I actually want to take another stab at it because a lot of other adjacent communities have different types, and I just want to make sure that, you know, we're consistent with the lower end of the fees for what
Yeah, I
adjacent
mean,
towns do.
just looking at it, John,
Yeah.
I mean, in the private sector,
Mhm.
you can't step foot into the field for under, you know, somewhere between 95 and $125. It's an hour's worth of time, right?
Right,
I don't know if I'd go less if you have to go into the field.
right.
So it's just my gut reaction to it.
Okay.
The cost of doing business, but it's what it's like in the real world.
Yep. I mean, because our requests for determinations right now are, I think, what, $50, Megan?
So do you have to go into the field? You have to go into the field for that too?
They're 25, yeah, and I have to go in the field and verify all this stuff. So
Yeah, that's low.
I know it is very low. So, you know, that's kind of my thought process as we move forward with a lot of this
Right.
stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I have to look and confirm, you know, where the resource areas are and kind of make an assessment. So
Yeah, so an hour of your time, I mean, how many years experience do you have?
Mhm.
It's probably in the $125 to $150 range an hour. That's what it's like. So we shouldn't shortchange your fee there.
okay. I mean, I can raise it up and kind of make that change.
Yeah, I don't personally think anything should be below, you know, if you have to go into the field, it should be probably a minimum of like 125.
So here's kind of the bottom line that the commission needs to be aware of. I have to go in the field in every project here in town because I'm also the stormwater agent. So, I mean, one way or another, I have to confirm or, you know, validate whether the project is going to require conservation approval. I mean, one way or another, I need to do that.
Well, that's part of the notice of intent filing fee though, when you have to do that.
No, that is, yeah, that
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
But in the event that someone's going to be doing a project and it's 175 feet away from a resource area, you know,
Yeah.
I feel confident that, you know, the work is not going to be anywhere near 100 feet of the project and require a RDA to confirm that information. So that's kind of where I'm getting at.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just you doing it as more of a public education process, helping a homeowner
Right,
instead of having them file an RDA saying, am I in jurisdiction, and then charging them.
right.
Yeah, yeah. See, if you had an assistant, you could send the assistant out to do that stuff, right?
I could.
Yeah. So, okay, so you're gonna revise that and send that to us again?
Yeah, I want to take another stab at it and see kind of what I can do to make it more updated and take your advisements into consideration as well.
Okay. All right. I think we've almost reached the end of the agenda, right? Potential in-person meetings. Megan, do you have any updates on that?
Oh, the library hasn't gotten back to me about Thursdays. So Mondays, around like 7:15 or 7:30 would probably be the best time going forward for in-person meetings. So we could stick to the same schedule that we kind of already have laid out tentatively. But it's up to the commission whether or not a later date would work for them. I mean, a later time, I should say.
So what if, all right, so say we started the public hearings at 7:15, but we still started at 6:30 to do all this administrative paperwork and get it out of the way first. You
I
could
know-
still start.
The space isn't available until 7:15.
Oh,
Yeah, that's the only downside.
okay. Yeah,
Well, let's just all meet at Lisa's.
sure. Dan, in the summer, we can go outside, there's plenty of space, plenty of room. Well, I can speak for myself saying Thursdays are not good for me. I usually have appointments a couple times a month on Thursdays, so I cannot make Thursdays.
And Tuesdays and Wednesdays are out of the option for the library as well. So it's really Mondays just at a later time unless we find a different venue.
What about the Norton Media Center? What do they have available?
I have to reach out to them. I know that planning board goes there often, so I have to make sure I'm not, messing with another board's time.
I think they hold meetings on Tuesday, so let's.
I know, but I think finance does Mondays.
Can somebody remind me why we can't go to town hall? I'm so confused. Why?
I think it's a board of health. Like this, it's not great fire exits, I think.
But you guys work there every day.
No, just
Just
in
the crowd?
the meeting room.
Oh.
We could have it in the upstairs room, but it's not conducive to a ton of public participation.
Why is
This
that?
sounds like something where we should call up Michael Moore and have him make a documentary about town hall.
There's just not a ton of space, but I mean, we could make it work if we needed to.
Is Edith Reed out? Is Reed out?
We'd have to test the Wi-Fi there. There is Wi-Fi, but we just have to make sure it's a reliable connection that we don't lose. Because I think it'd have to be a hybrid meeting that we'd be having, so some of it would still happen on Zoom.
I'll need to tap into our what is it, electronic grant that we have and get a big screen TV for Edith Reed as well, if we're gonna do that. So
Well, I mean, it's not for a short term, John, right? It's. I mean, how many years until the new town hall is built?
no, I agree. It's definitely a potential venue place to have and hold meetings. We can have up to 45 people according to the fire
Yeah.
and safety codes.
I mean, ideally, not for anything, but I think because public meetings are usually held in town hall, which is usually centrally located, I think the library is our best bet in terms of public participation, but we would just have to do it later.
Yeah, the only issue with Edith Reed is the access road that comes in and out. If one person's coming one way, it's almost impossible
Oh,
for
yeah.
another person to come. So it's almost like a fire access safety issue for holding events there that are going to be for the public. I don't know. I'd have to talk about with fire and safety.
Okay. Megan, if you could circle back with the Board of Health just to make sure that restriction is still valid. I mean,
Yeah, so we can have it upstairs. That's not an issue. It's just where they used to be held is different now. I can definitely double check. And
So you
see.
mean where your office is? That
Yeah.
room?
Yeah.
It was a no-go or?
No, that's allowed. That's where it would be.
Oh. I mean, that's where we always had them, so.
Oh, okay. I was told that they used to be done down in another conference room.
Yeah, that
Downstairs.
used to be held at the select board meeting room, but not the commission.
No,
I'm saying that's what they're talking about, is that the select board meeting room is no longer being able to be used. The upstairs, second floor, conference table and area space can be utilized as part of having a meeting. It's not as Megan indicated, it's not conducive for the general public because of the confined quarters.
Right, but I mean, we had meetings there for 20 years, so.
Right. No, I understand that. I'm just saying if we do have a meeting that we know is going to have a bunch of people at it, I mean, people are going to be sitting outside the door.
We've packed them in the past with the best of them. So, yeah, no, I know. Okay. All right, we'll get through it. So did anybody have anything else?
Oh, there's
What Julian's potentially out for, or no?
Did you have the meeting minutes kind of identified, Dan?
Oh, Dan.
Yeah. Oh.
But-
Yeah, I'll just send it to Megan. There's nothing more, it's grammatical stuff, you know.
Okay,
Like-
do you want us to hold off, because it's only January, do you want us to hold off approving them until you're done?
No, it's not worth it. I'll just send my corrections to Megan. And,
Okay.
Okay.
So, did you make a motion, Dan?
I'll make a motion to accept what month is, the January 9th, meeting minutes,
Motion by
Um,
Dan,
as amended by Dan. No,
second by Mark, roll call, Ron and Dan,
aye.
Mark,
Aye.
and I'll throw in an aye. All right, it is 8:23, motion to close.
Oh, wait,
Oh, what?
the bill signer thing, do you have to do that?
I thought we worked on that last time, and we said if, Dan
But it
wasn't
was on-
available, that I
Yeah,
could do.
So-
we have to nominate Dan as the primary. Is that correct?
Yeah, so they
Oh.
said technically Carrie used to be the primary, so now Dan just needs an official vote to be primary.
Okay, so I'll need a motion from somebody that Dan be the primary bill signer on behalf of the commission.
So moved.
Motion by Ron,
Second.
second by Mark. Roll call, Ron and Mark.
Aye.
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
I would guess you vote it, yeah, and I'll throw in an aye. Was that good enough, Megan?
I hope so.
I do too.
I think Megan's
Okay.
just happy that the meeting minutes won't be as long as they were last time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they were very, very long.
Dan, was that a motion to adjourn at 8:24?
Almost. I have one more thing. If you want
Okay.
to see a great environmental movie, Dark Waters. It's 2 or 3 years ago. Mark Ruffalo et al. And it's a really great movie, Dark Waters.
Oh,
Right,
is
now
that
I'm
Flint,
making-
Michigan?
Now, I'm sorry.
What about Flint, Michigan?
No, it's about for heaven's sake, West Virginia, Parkersburg, West Virginia. The lawyers from Cincinnati. It's also got Tim Robbins and Anne Hathaway. It's a great movie.
Is it Netflix? Dan?
Yes, Netflix. It's not a loud movie, but it is a great movie, except for some parts. Some parts are. Anyway,
Thank you
having
for your viewing recommendation, Mr. Pearson. It was much appreciated
You-
because I was just ending a.
Madam Chairman, it is my pleasure. And I would like now to propose, without further ado, that we, whatever it is, we leave. Adjourn. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, second, third, and fourth, and
Second.
fourth.
Okay. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Drive safely.